The sound of the key turning in my bedroom lock echoed like a gunshot in the pre-dawn silence. My heart leaped into my throat as I realized I couldn't open the door. From the other side, my daughter's voice cut through the air like a knife. "Dad, I need you to transfer your retirement funds to me. It's the only way you're getting out of that room." At 68, after a lifetime dedicated to her, I was being held prisoner by the girl I raised with so much love. Milena, my 30-year-old daughter, had become a dangerous stranger overnight. But I knew that behind that desperate look, there was something she couldn't tell me. And it was in that moment, locked in the room I'd painted myself years ago, that I began to understand that maybe I was also responsible for this tragedy. The next few hours crawled by like a nightmare in slow motion. Every sound outside made me jump. Her nervous footsteps in the hallway, whispered phone conversations, the sound of furniture being dragged. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation for this absurd situation. How did we get here? How did the sweet girl who used to hug me every morning transform into this cold, calculating person, holding me hostage? I tried to remember when things started to change. Maybe it was 6 months ago, when Milena became more withdrawn. She'd always been a cheerful young woman, working as a nurse at the city hospital, with friends, dreams. After her mother, Helen's, death 5 years ago, we'd supported each other. We were a team, a small but united family. Or at least, that's what I believed. In recent months, however, something had changed drastically. Milena started coming home late, always nervous, looking over her shoulder as if she were being pursued. Her hands trembled when she held her phone, and she'd developed a habit of locking her bedroom door. When I asked if everything was all right, she'd reply with a forced smile. "Of course, Dad, I'm just tired from work." Now, sitting on the bed where I had slept beside Helen for so many years, I understood that I should have insisted more. I should have broken through the invisible wall she'd erected between us. As a father, I failed to notice the danger signs, and now I was paying the price for that emotional neglect. Morning light began to filter through the curtains, creating golden stripes on the floor. I could hear Milena moving around the house, dragging things, speaking softly on the phone. There was an urgency in her movements that worried me even more. I approached the door and pressed my ear against the wood, trying to catch a word, a clue about what was happening. "I'll get the money today. Yes, I promise. Please, give me one more day." Her voice was filled with desperation, almost pleading. My heart broke hearing her. My daughter was in trouble, and I didn't even know what it was about. Then the memories came flooding back. Milena had always been a sensitive child, deeply affected by her mother's premature death. Helen died of cancer when Milena was only 25, just as she was building her career and discovering who she was as an adult. The loss devastated our daughter in a way I never fully understood. I remembered how Milena cried at the funeral, clinging to my arm as if she were going to fall apart. "Dad, I don't know how to live without her," she said that day. I, trying to be strong for both of us, replied, "We'll be okay, honey. We have each other." But maybe I never really taught her how to cope with grief. Maybe I was too strong, and she never learned that it was okay to be fragile sometimes. After the funeral, I threw myself into work as a way to escape my own pain. I worked as an accountant at a small firm, and I started doing overtime constantly. I came home late, exhausted, and found Milena watching TV alone. She always said she was fine when I asked, and I, cowardly, accepted that answer, because I didn't know how to deal with my own sadness either. Helen had always been the emotional anchor of our family. She knew how to talk, how to listen, how to hug at the right time. I was good at providing, at solving practical problems, but matters of the heart were always her domain. When Helen died, Milena and I were left like two castaways, trying to save ourselves without knowing how to swim. In the first few years after Helen's death, Milena threw herself into work with an intensity that worried me. She did double shifts at the hospital, studied for specializations, and went out very little. When I suggested she should have more fun, meet people, she replied, "Dad, work keeps me focused. That's what I need right now." I respected that choice, but maybe I should have realized she was using work as a way to avoid facing her own pain. It was around the age of 27 that Milena started going out more. She made some friends at the hospital and started going to bars and parties. At first, I was happy. Finally, she was allowing herself to live a little. But gradually, the outings became more frequent, and she started coming home later and later. Sometimes, she wouldn't come home all night. When I expressed concern, she got angry. Dad, I'm a grown woman, you can't control me forever. She wasn't wrong, but there was something in the way she spoke, an aggressiveness that didn't match her personality, that made me uneasy. Still, I backed down. After years of being overprotective, I was trying to give her the space she seemed to want. Now, locked in this room, I realized I'd misinterpreted everything. Milena didn't want space. She wanted help, but didn't know how to ask. And I, for fear of being controlling, ended up being neglectful. How many nights must she have cried alone in her room, while I pretended to sleep on the other side of the wall? How many times did she try to tell me about her problems, only to give up because I was distracted or tired? Hours crawled by on that first day of captivity. Milena passed the door several times, but didn't say anything. I tried to talk to her a few times, knocking softly and calling her name, but she didn't answer. In the afternoon, I heard the sound of someone arriving home. Male voices, low but tense. My blood ran cold. Milena, are you sure you can get the money today? The voice was rough, threatening. Because if you can't, you know what's going to happen. Yes, I can. My dad will transfer his retirement funds to my account this afternoon. It's just a matter of hours. Milena's voice trembled, but there was a desperate determination in it that broke my heart. I hope so, sweetheart. Because you know we don't like to wait. The man laughed, a cruel sound that made me clench my fists. And if you're lying, well, you know where we live. I heard heavy footsteps fading away, and the front door closing. Then the sound of Milena softly crying in the living room. At that moment, all my anger turned into a painful understanding. My daughter wasn't blackmailing me out of malice. She was desperate, probably threatened by dangerous people. I approached the door again and whispered, Milena, honey, I heard everything. You don't need to keep me locked in here. Let's talk. Let's solve this together. Absolute silence. Then footsteps approaching the door. Dad, you don't understand. Her voice was broken, filled with shame. I got myself into a situation that has no way out. These people don't mess around. If I don't give them the money today, they'll hurt me. Daughter, tell me everything. We'll find a solution. We always have, haven't we? I tried to sound calm, but my voice also trembled. No, Dad. Not this time. I messed everything up. I have an addiction. The confession came out as a desperate sigh. It started 2 years ago, when I met a friend at work. She took me to some places, said it was just to relax after difficult shifts. At first it was just fun. But she stopped talking, and I heard sobs on the other side of the door. My heart shattered. How could I have been so blind? How did I not notice that my daughter was destroying herself right under my nose? Milena, listen. No matter what happened, you're my daughter, and I love you. We'll solve this together. Understand? But first, you need to let me out of here. Locked in this room, I can't help you. No, Dad. If I open this door, you'll want to call the police, or you'll try something heroic that will only make things worse. They made it very clear that if I involve other people, they'll get rid of me. From that moment on, our conversation turned into an emotional negotiation through a wooden door. I tried to convince her that there were other solutions, that we could seek professional help, that she didn't need to face this alone. She insisted it was too late, that the only way to get out of this alive was to get the money immediately. Throughout the rest of the day, fragments of the story were revealed. Milena had started using drugs as a way to cope with the pain of her mother's death and the stress of work. What started as recreational use quickly turned into addiction. She started borrowing money from dealers, thinking she could stop whenever she wanted and pay it all back. But the addiction only grew, and so did the debts. When it finally became clear that she couldn't pay, the dealers started with the threats. First, it was just words, then minor intimidation. The week before the day she locked me in the room, they had shown up at the city hospital, where she worked, and made it clear that they knew where we lived, and that they wouldn't hesitate to solve the problem in a more definitive way. As I heard the full story, I felt increasingly guilty.